The events over the weekend are an internal Russian matter, and one more demonstration of the big strategic mistake that President Putin has made with his illegal war against Ukraine. NATO is also monitoring the situation in Belarus. Allies condemn Russia's announcements about the deployment of nuclear weapons to Belarus. This is reckless and irresponsible. We don't see any indication that Russia is preparing to use nuclear weapons, but NATO remains vigilant. We call on Belarus to stop its support for Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. Moscow is attempting to intimidate us and deter us from supporting Ukraine. But we will not be intimidated. We will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. And we will defend all allies against any threat. So, Mr. President, Minister, it's great to be together with you here today, and I look forward to continue to work with you and to welcome you to the Vilnius summit.
Thank you. I invite the Minister of Defense of Germany, Boris Pistorius, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, President, dear Jens, ladies and gentlemen. This exercise really was very, very impressive, and the members of the North Atlantic Council quite agree, I think, and I would like to thank them for their visit here. I really appreciate that. The men and women of Armored Infantry Brigade 41 of the Lithuanian Algiras battalion gave a spectacular performance. And the cooperation with our Lithuanian friends works very well, has been working very well during the last almost 7 years. And I'm all my troops for the outstanding hospitality of Lithuania. Thank you very much. Armored Infantry Brigade 41 has shown us that they have got what it takes. This is very important too. 1,000 troops, 350 vehicles, at a very short notice, just 24 hours, something like that. This was prepared by the forward command element. In Lithuania, they make a powerful contribution to defend NATO eastern flank. Stand side by side with their allies, ready to defend Lithuania together when it is necessary. Now we are looking towards the NATO summit, which also will be protecting at short notice with our additional capabilities, which means we will protect the summit with our air defense capabilities. And I expect we will achieve good results that will continue to challenge us. Let me add something which I already mentioned earlier this day. Germany used to be the eastern flank of NATO territory until the end of Warsaw Pact. And we could always rely and always trust in our allies in NATO, who were always willing and able to protect our security and our freedom in Germany as a very exposed country at the eastern flank of NATO at that time. And nowadays, eastern flank is, for example, the Baltics, Poland, Slovakia and other countries. And Slovakia and Poland and the Baltics are very much exposed in a special way, of course, because of the geographic situation. And Germany, as the biggest economy in Europe and an important member of NATO, of course, is willing and will be able to take responsibility now for the new eastern flank after more than 3 decades. We are willing to contribute our part to protect it. And that means precisely Germany is ready to deploy a robust brigade in Lithuania on a permanent basis, provided that adequate infrastructure, for example, barracks, exercise infrastructure, ammunition depots are given, and that SACEUR, of course, maintains the flexibility needed according NATO planning. This is very crucial too. So therefore, I'm very glad to be here again, and it's certainly not my last time in Lithuania. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I invite the media representatives to pose their questions. Please take a microphone, introduce yourself, and indicate who you are addressing your question to.
Thank you, Christina. My name is Saulis Jakučanis. I'm from news agency Baltic News Service. I have a question for the German Minister of Defense, Mr. Pistorius. Minister, when Germany will make a decision regarding sending air defense capabilities to Lithuania under this new air defense model, which was agreed in NATO several weeks ago, and also on the other matter, touching upon the press conference previously, which you where you took place in Vilnius airport, can you indeed confirm that there are Wagner units being stationed to Belarus? Thank you very much. And also, can you confirm that Wagner units are being stationed in Belarus? Thank you. And President Nausėda, I also have a question for you. What are the other countries except Germany? Lithuania is negotiating to send to deploy air defense capabilities. Thank you.
From my part, I don't have any newer information about the deployment of Wagner troops or units into Belarus.
Okay. What about air defense? Air defense, when you will make the decision to send units to Lithuania?
Air defense, well, we made our decision for the summit this year, but not more at the moment.
This is the issue I would like to touch too, because air defense systems are critically important, especially in the crisis scenario. Of course, the air policing missions are important during the peacetime, but air defense systems are much more important if the situation starts to deteriorate. And the war in Ukraine showed that really to control the airspaces is one of the most important possibilities to reduce the losses, especially during initial stage of the crisis. But regarding your question, yes, Minister already mentioned that now we are talking about air defense systems provided during the NATO summit and shortly afterwards. We are talking about air defense systems on a rotational basis after the Vilnius summit. And I already started my discussions with different allies, namely Netherlands, France, Germany, and other countries, but so far it's very complicated issue to answer this question and who will be responsible for which part or which element of air defense systems. Much more important is that we already have the conclusion or decision on the NATO level that air defense systems in the eastern flank on rotational basis, this is probably adequate response to the current situation. And we are looking forward to cooperate with our partners in the nearest future regarding this issue.
Thank you. We have a second media question, please.
Natalia Drozdiak from Bloomberg. Thank you so much for the questions. For Secretary Stoltenberg, what impact does NATO expect the Wagner events to have on the battlefield in Ukraine? And German Minister Pistorius, I was curious to ask, why did Germany change its decision about having permanent troops based in Lithuania? Was this at all tied to the Wagner events over the weekend, or was this in motion already before? Thank you.
I think what we've seen in Russia over the last days demonstrates the fragility of the German regime. And of course it is a demonstration of weakness.
The German regime?
When there are... Sorry?
Not the German regime.
Oh, sorry, the Russian. Sorry.
I'm sorry. They're quite stable at the moment.
Sorry. We see the weakness of the Russian regime, and it also demonstrates how difficult and dangerous it is for President Putin to be reliant on mercenaries. That has actually turned against him. And it also demonstrates that it is hard to predict exactly what will now happen in the next days and weeks, but we should not make the mistakes that we are underestimating the Russians. So we need to continue to provide support to Ukraine, and that's exactly what NATO and NATO allies are doing with military support.